A disability is something that has a major impact on your life.
Every disability is different.
And it's never the same thing for two people. I am blind in my right eye totally and partially sighted in my left eye.
I was 18 years old. We were traveling way too fast on a gravel road. Broke my neck, my back.
My Asperger's syndrome and my cerebral palsy.
I have anxiety and depression. People would have no idea just talking to me.
Being independent means different things to different people.
I want to live in my own house. I want to pay my own bills.
Live independently and not rely on other people.
When someone is not able to live as independently as they can, it does have a detrimental effect on people's physical and mental well-being.
It's no complicated thing. It's just that people with disabilities want to be included.
Plenty of people get stuck in ruts when they feel like they can't overcome something in their life. That's where LIFTT comes in.
Living independently for today and tomorrow. LIFTT. We help people of all ages and all types of disabilities find the resources or acquire the skills to live as independently as possible.
We serve the southeastern 18 counties here at the Billings office. We have a variety of things that we offer. We can help with grant funding for adaptive equipment.
Maybe a home modification so they're able to access their home. We help people to find that funding.
Helping people apply for Social Security benefits.
Medicaid, Medicare, housing.
They have a peer support group. Peer support, I think, is key.
Sharing life experiences is one of the most powerful things to help people who might be new to disability, who might be struggling with their disability.
Youth transitions is kids that are transitioning out of high school. They need to learn those adulting skills. It might be rent an apartment, learn how to grocery shop, budgeting.
Help someone advocate for themselves in a school or an employment setting. One of our biggest strengths is providing folks with information and referral. If we can't help you, we hope to know who can.
A lot of times we'll have a potential consumer call in and they think that they just have one need, and it turns out that we end up finding 3 or 4 things we can actually do for them.
You can just come in and say, hey, I feel like I have this going on. Can you help me? And we can, which is so cool to me. I love that.
Most of us on staff at LIFTT have identified ourselves as having one or more disabilities. That is helpful in many cases.
It's easier to empathize with someone when you yourself have struggled with a disability.
This is what we specialize in. This is who we are, and this is what we do.
And it costs nothing to go to LIFTT. It's a nonprofit organization and they're there to help.
Somebody that was a consumer that was working with LIFTT was asked to do an art project. He visualized that the balloon helps to lift people up. And then it became the logo, and it's stuck.
There's been success on all kinds of levels.
It's really rewarding to have a consumer go, hey, I was able to do this by myself today.
We want people to live their best life as independent as possible.
Live as everyone else in society and live as a part of society, not apart from society.
Everybody needs help. Sometimes you just need a little more help, and that's okay. That's absolutely okay.
There's plenty of life to live still, and there's a way you can do it. Keep chipping away at it, little by little by little.
Knowledge is power. Let's share it, for crying out loud.
Send us an email, give us a call. We'll do our best to help.
We can definitely help figure out what your needs are and get started on that. We're one of many steps in the path to independence, and we're happy to be serving people here in the community.
Hello and welcome to Living Well in the Community, sponsored by LIFTT. LIFTT is a center for independent living that serves people with disabilities and the aging in 18 counties in southeast Montana. So I'm excited to be here today. My name is Eileen and I am a health coach at LIFTT. So I help people with diabetes prevention, different things that really aids to what we're talking today about. We're going to talk about our community garden kickoff, and I'm excited to have Garrett with me, and he's on our board of directors, and he's been a really integral part of getting our community garden up and going. So thanks for being here today, Garrett.
Well, it's my pleasure.
So if you don't mind, I was just going to ask, what got you so excited about gardening? And tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I grew up in a family that had always had a vegetable garden. My granddad had a vegetable garden. My dad always came home from work and went out and watered his corn patch. And I watched him enjoy working in his garden after he was done working at work. And it was like fishing to him. I didn't quite understand why it was so much work for me as a child having to weed the garden, but I watched him enjoy it. And after seeing what he would grow come into the kitchen, it wasn't too long, and it was an established concept that the best vegetables always came out of Dad's garden. They didn't come from the store. And my grandmother on my mom's side was really loved flowers. She raised vegetable gardens during the Depression, but she also participated in a field study for Burbank roses, developing strains of Burbank roses when she lived up west of Kalispell in the mountains. So just through my family is the connection that I made with gardening. It was a natural process.
Yes, that's so neat to have that in your family background. So, and how has this affected maybe your health and your lifestyle throughout your life?
Well, the overall effect of it, it's hard to quantify. One thing that happened to me is 40 years ago, I started limiting the amount of meat I ate, so a lot of my protein came from rice and beans. This was before you had so much processed vegetarian protein sources. But the thing about learning how to grow produce was essential in supplementing that type of a diet. And so the other factor in my health is that my wife is an excellent chef, and she is able to sort out a lot of the macronutrients that I need in my diet without me thinking about it. She automatically is putting that all together. So I'm a pretty lucky guy in that respect.
Yes, that's excellent. It's a partnership. You bring in the vegetables and she cooks them then, if you're gardening. So.
Yeah, Molly has a real gift with putting those meals together.
That's excellent. Great. Well, and that kind of brings me to, we actually last year got a grant for Food is Medicine. So knowing that what we eat can really be healing to us. So this was kind of part of the inspiration for our community garden. So how do you see gardening play a role in healthier communities?
the home garden is a place where a person can start thinking about having a clean source of food. Mm-hmm. So much of the produce and the assembly line food that we eat mm-hmm. has to be treated so that it can retain a shelf life, that you can get it off the shelf and use it. And in that process, a lot of the nutrients in the produce degrade to where you don't get as much as you possibly could. Mm. When you grow in your own garden, all of those nutrients have a chance to make it from the vegetable into your body. Mm-hmm. And this was the key thing about food as medicine. The other aspect to this is that to develop those type of healthy vegetables, you have to develop a healthy soil, mm-hmm. and that is a very interesting process.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. So, and just recently we did a compost workshop, and I think people were very fascinated to see what all goes into the soil to make it healthy. So, and I love that about our garden is we now have a compost pile so that people can learn about that whole process while they're gardening at
right.
Lift,
That compost, we started that pile, and it will take quite a while. The way that was done, because it's a lazy man's compost pile there. Mm-hmm. A person, if you're attentive to it and you build up that compost with cellulose or dry leaves, and then green nitrogen, and then maybe some wood ash, you build up these layers and you keep adding water and you keep turning it and mixing it, it will cook mm-hmm. fast mm-hmm. in the summer when it gets warm. But even if you don't have time to do that, if you just put all of those ingredients together, let them sit with water, eventually it will cook down into compost. And there's some interesting factors that we need to be careful of. Mm. When you add grass to that compost, you want to be careful that you're not adding grass that has the forever weed killer type of chemical in it. Mm-hmm. Some of the broadleaf weed killers that are in the lawn food now, they do not degrade over time for a very long time. Mm. And you don't want to get those chemicals into that compost cycle. Mm-hmm. So yeah. In that respect, you feel like you need some compost police out there to be careful what gets thrown in there. Yes. But you want to make sure there's plenty of stuff going in that compost, because it shrinks right down to nothing. Right. But it's vital to growing the good vegetables. Yeah. The types of fertilizer that are commercially available will do fine and grow and will make your plants grow. Mm. But what they do is they kill the microorganisms in that first layer of soil. Mm. The little bacteria and other microscopic organisms and little bugs. Those little animals create a layer of biology that the soil has to have in order to deliver the trace minerals to the vegetables. The minerals and the nutrients can be in the soil, but if the soil doesn't have that healthy living layer, then the plant roots can't pull those nutrients out of the soil.
Yeah.
So part of learning how to make your food become healthy is to make that soil healthy.
Yes.
In that respect.
Yes. So, and I love that. I love that, you know, we have a lot of people behind the scenes helping with this and helping people understand that. So people that are watching might be wondering, who is the garden for? Do they need experience to be part of it? What would you say to them if they ask you that?
The idea behind this was that we would have a type of a garden that people could access who didn't necessarily have a chance to have any garden at all. And sometimes a person has a limited mobility, and if you use a wheelchair or if you use a walker, it's pretty uncomfortable to try to get up and down and work in a regular garden plot.
Right.
So the idea here was to create a garden that was easier to work in for some of us who have other limitations in that respect. But the second concept here is that it's an inclusive idea. If a family has a child with some challenging disability, whether it's emotional or whether it's physical, if you as a family would like to use a garden bed, then that's fine too. We want to open this garden up to as many people as we can. There's there are other, I think of the Pleasant View Apartments has a similar type of garden. And there are elderly people there who might like to have a second garden plot.
Sure.
And so it's just something we're trying to develop. We want to just get as much interest in it as we can, and we don't want people to think, well, I can't use it because I'm not bad off enough or something.
Right.
You know. And
yes.
It's just a matter of getting in there and trying.
Yeah.
You probably have a better idea of the actual paperwork you need to fill out to apply for it.
Correct.
Than I do.
Yes. Yes, really, you could just contact LIFTT and they will get you in touch with me, and I can walk you through the paperwork. Since we've gotten grants to run the garden, we do ask people to fill out some of our LIFTT paperwork so that we can track where the grant money is being used. But it's not a hard process, and then I can give you details on how to be part of the garden. So yes. And really, you kind of hit on this, that the boxes themselves are quite unique. And you actually drew up the plans on what they would look like. So can you explain a little bit what went on in designing those beds?
Yeah, those boxes, I've seen several different types of planter boxes, and sometimes they're designed with a tapered cross section like a belly dump truck, so they don't get so heavy.
Right.
But what we wanted to design was one that boxes that were deep enough, had enough volume that they could develop and maintain the soil biology, where you have the active living layer on top, and then you have subsoil that isn't quite as active, but it's still a process of decomposition going down. And in the bottom of the box, you start with sticks or leaves or other organic debris in the bottom, and then an exfiltration layer and holes drilled in the bottom of the box so that the water can pass through the box just like it would a flower pot, or so it doesn't catch the water and rot everything that's in it.
Right.
So we came up, I drew this, some ideas out that are basically 2 feet deep, maybe a little less if you leave some room, leave some room at the top. But that gives those enough room to really grow some good soil.
Yeah.
Over time now, it will be challenging to watch the maintenance of these boxes.
Yeah.
Eventually they will rot out in the bottom. And but nothing lasts forever.
Right.
And I was so grateful for our contractor who has volunteered to all his time and work and materials, Mike Nelson. And he has been a boon to this process.
Yeah.
He's going to build a few more this spring. And it's a slow process, but he's building some good boxes for us.
Yes.
As we go down the road with this, we may find we want to have a slightly different design for people who use a wheelchair. We have one box that's lower, and it works well for somebody in a wheelchair, but sometimes you may want to pull your chair straight into the edge of the box, and you may want to have that part of that box cut out at the edge. But these little design ideas will make themselves prevalent as the process develops.
Right, exactly. Yes. Well, and May 15th, which is next Friday at noon, is our kickoff. So if people are wanting to join, what can they expect at the kickoff itself?
Yeah, that's going to be a big day. I hope to give away a bunch of tomato starts and pepper starts. We have I also planted. We have a bunch of celery this year, and celery is hard to start. Sometimes you have to start it real early, but it tastes so much better than the store-bought celery because you can let it grow without blanching it. And it gets more green in color and more photosynthesis going on in the stalk. And so when we get together on the 15th, our board treasurer has just finished the Master Gardeners program. Erica Yakovich, she's going to be there. She'll help with her advice and assist people in transplanting into their boxes, and people that want to learn how to transplant their plants, or if you don't need so much help, that's fine. You just get turned loose and you can plant your plants.
Yes.
But we will provide quite a few plants.
Yes.
Hopefully there'll be enough to go around. I think there will.
Yeah. And that, which also brings up, you were able to get a donation of a lot of seeds also. So we have access to
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, San Diego Seed Company last year sent us like 800 or something packets of seeds. Some of them are kind of funny varieties that they probably don't sell real fast, but there's still quite a few seeds there that are only a year old, so they're viable yet for another year or two. And I want to try to give those away on the 15th. And you don't have to be a member of the LIFTT Accessible Community Garden. All you need to do is show up and pick up some seeds for your own garden.
Yes. I love that it's really open to the community too. It's a learning project for everyone. So, and also a lot of people wonder how to find out about it. We post on Facebook. Again, calling our office is a great way to reach out. So, and we're also collaborating with some of the other community gardens in town so that we can share their events as well as them sharing our events. So it's neat to see the other projects in town also. So, all right, we only have about a couple minutes left. So what advice would you give to somebody that maybe thinks they don't have a green thumb or is kind of new to gardening? And we just have a few minutes. So,
well, you don't. It's not something that's born in your DNA. If you are interested in learning how to garden, you can learn how to get involved with it.
Yeah.
The excitement of watching something grow, it's just such a miracle thing that once you get hooked into that process, it's hard to walk away from it.
Yes.
But don't think that there's any secret knowledge involved. It's just a matter of getting in there and trying things and making mistakes and see what happens and what works and what doesn't work.
Yes.
And the more you put yourself around people that have made a bunch of those mistakes, the easier it is to find out.
Yes. That's what I loved about the garden last year. There were a couple of people that just had never tried it before, and this gave them the opportunity to just put a few seeds in the ground and see what came up. And they were really excited to see that things, like you say, taste so much better, and it's so rewarding to see a harvest from the garden. So, well, we're looking forward to seeing you there. We'll kind of wrap it up, and again, you can call our office at LIFTT and just let us know that you're interested. If you want to just come and participate, you can just show up. It'll be May 15th at noon, just right outside of LIFTT. So, thank you.